So it was a real big jumping off point. I really had to trust my gut, because sometimes when you listen, they say listen to your gut. Lots of times it's just a whisper, and it's easy to ignore it and just keep going.
Welcome to the Only the Strong podcast, where we are interviewing the strong and only the strong in 2025. And we're going to be doing that in regards to redefining what it means to be strong. Because as you may not know, strong isn't about just about wielding power, it's about grit and grind. And there's nobody that I know that personifies that grit and grind right off of a show, by the way. Luther Dickinson, welcome to the podcast and welcome to by Robert James Studio here.
Thank you, Robert. Thanks for asking me.
Yeah, wow, man, you sound great. We tried this earlier, and it was a bit of a downer. So, I want to start off right now in the written piece that I wrote on this. I wanted to hold on just one second. I have one other thing I'm trying to do here, and I don't know why that's not happening. I wanted to go ahead and ask you. I told everybody how I met you, and it was just like, who's that guy? He's coming around the shop, and this, and then I was introduced into your world of music, into your world, and then now I want to know what it was like from your perspective.
Man, I tried for years and years to find some clothes that fit, man. I've got short arms and broad shoulders, broad chest. And dude, my friend Glennis McDarris took me into your shop, and I was so relieved that I could like move, man. Great
Oh,
clothes.
really?
Yes, because the way my shoulders, like everything was too tight. Like all the cool clothes or whatever were made for like small, skinny people. But you're
Yeah.
not only did your clothes fit, but you tailored them for free. So you would always bring my sleeves up, and then I became friends with your guys, and then started chatting you up, and I would plan my whole New York City travel around hitting BRJ as much as possible.
And there was a coffee shop, right?
Oh yeah, right across the street there was a brunch place on the corner that I loved. Nice
Yeah.
coffee, a great brunch. It was just a scene. To me, man, I swear BRJ was New York City for me. It was
Oh, that's
it
amazing.
encapsulated the whole thing.
You know, that was such a wonderful thing. Like, I wound up on this amazing block. I mean, I did a lot of research to do that. It wasn't by accident. And shout out to Ariana, who had the shop before me, and it all kind of just worked out. But it did. The shop was in such a beautiful hub. It was right around the corner from the Bowery. So all those musicians could stop by. And I did happen to have somebody that was fixing guitars upstairs as well.
Cool.
So there was just so many things to do. And then we ended up bumping into each other because, like you said, at the beginning of all of this, we were passing each other because one of the things I had that it was important to me about the stores were that I wasn't babysitting it. That the people that I hired there, they had a parameter, which was kick butt, tell the story of BRJ and the story of New York Made, and then that was it. Like in between, and don't have any beers before 30 minutes before close. Now the guests, that was a different story, but um, how did that work out for you in that portion of it? Just sort of finally when we ended up meeting, because we were like, "Wow, this guy's great."
I really don't remember. I mean, you were busy, but I would always try and chat you up. But your guys, your whole crew, they were so friendly. And I mean, I'm a Southern kid who didn't know anything about clothes, still don't. I just know what I like. But your guys were so sweet, and it made me feel like part of a club, like it made me feel
Yeah,
welcome. And they were so kind, and even some of my requests, like I like my sleeves to be short, and they were, understanding. But I think, oh, and it always had great tunes as well. Always blasting out the vinyl. Had
yeah,
the
man,
vibe.
yeah, man. So that's not what this is all about. Just something that was curious for me about what I had written, and then thinking about it, like, yeah, for me it was kind of like, who's this guy? And then we got to meet, and it was on, man.
But you know
I
what?
believe
You know what
Jameson was your guy,
consummated?
no?
You know what consummated the relationship? For whatever reason, I end up playing one of your parties, and when you saw me get down and do my thing, you're like, "Oh shit!" And you,
Yeah.
you came to me and looked at me, and eye to eye, you're like, "All right, all right." I was like,
Yeah,
"Yeah."
I knew you were. That's when I knew you were a dog, man. I knew. I was like, oh, really? Okay, okay, Luther, that's cool.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I think there's one thing. One of the greatest things you can do in this world is be a fan. And I always really prided myself on being a good fan, meaning like for my people, I was the guy that was going to show up. Shout out to Cobra. Sorry, I'm not going to show up tonight. Happy 39th, buddy. But I have kids now. I can't just do what I want to do. Um, and I think one of the things that I'm trying to do with this podcast, as well as is talk about strength, is also bring that community back together and see people and be with them, even though we're not connected. I miss you, Luther, and I miss this connection. So I'm so excited to, and it's evidenced by how I almost, I was when we saw each other at the beacon. I was like, yeah, and we went crazy like two kids that hadn't seen each other like in years and years, and that was beautiful. So let's jump into something else, though. The topic of strength. Um, well, let me ask you, what keeps you motivated when times do get tough for you?
Man, the beautiful thing about tough times, and I was really experiencing this over the holidays, and things be stressful with family at home and whatever. But music, it just, I mean, you call it the blues or whatever, but it just pacifies you. It makes you feel better. And like in my studio downstairs, I've got all my keyboards and pedals and drones, and I can just go down and turn shit on and start making noise, and it just immediately makes you feel better. It's just like, uh, and I learned like around 2020. I grew up using recording engineers, like a partnership of I play the music and my partners record it. But with 2020 lockdown, I had to learn to do it, and thank God I learned to record myself because it's so freeing. I did a film score, so I learned how to really just flow, and I could go in and just improvise track after track after track, um, and like spend an hour just freestyling music. And to me, that gets me through hard times. And what drives me and pushes me through hard times is definitely having kids. They give you something to fight for. It's like creative
Yeah.
people might worry about having kids when you're young. You're like, oh, it'll dilute my who I am, and I'll have to compromise my art and my process. But no, man, it just intensifies it. Kids give you something to fight for.
Yes, I am in total agreement about that. But I have to say that my dad brain kicked into a different thought when you brought that up.
Mhm.
Because here I am also right now locked in my basement, and you're away from your kids, locked away somewhere else as well. And so I see it sometimes the other way, like, that's one of the reasons I don't have a shop. I want to be real honest with people. I'm asked 1,000 times, why no store right now? And it's because I'm an obsessive person, and I spent like 80, 90 hours there. And when I became a single dad, partially because I was spending 80, 90 hours there, right? Um, I decided that I wanted to make sure that I put Project One, my babies. How,
Yeah.
how do you how do you how do you I know you mentioned it in the piece, but you want to show them work ethic also. But when you did go downstairs to kind of get away from it all, I know for me, I feel a little bit bad about it. How do you rectify those parts?
Well, in those moments, they're happy to see me go. You know what I mean? Like in the moments when it gets stressful at home and everyone separates. And
Yeah,
sometimes it's better to disengage too. And I have two daughters, and
yeah,
and so it's a fiery, very talkative situation. And for me, like, don't engage. It's best for me to stay out of it sometimes.
yeah. I see that. So you need a little man cave action. I've got two boys, and so I'm always like worried about, okay, how much screen time, how much Rubik's cubes time, how much movie time, and how much outside with the dog time.
Yeah.
The winter makes you feel a little bit better because there's like, okay, it's 1,000 degrees below zero. What am I really going to do here? So moving right along, um, we talked about your hand, and I kind of want to dive just a little bit deeper because I remember the story one way, and then we have that a little bit differently as well. So my recollection of the story was you coming in and your hand was immobile at the time. And I'm like, hey, buddy, what's going on? I figured maybe you fell down, sprayed your hand. You're like, no, bro, my hand is blown. I don't even know. And when we talked about the treatment plan that you're on, you were getting acupuncture, PT, and your career didn't end. So for me, my understanding was that it was fixed. But you tell
Mhm.
me a different story.
Well, it did recover, but it's never been 100% since. And I'm not looking for it to be like, long story short, like in my youth, I've been finger picking all my life. So my thumb is always the repetitive motion of my thumb. Boom, chicka, boom, chicka, boom, chicka, boom, chicka. Just my whole life. And and then I woke up one day and I had to leave for tour and I couldn't move my thumb. My hand was cool, my fingers were cool, but it was my thumb that
Got it.
Dr. Servain's tenosynovitis. It clamps down on this tendon right here, and you can't move your thumb, and it hurts like a motherfucker. And it started with Blackberries and Nintendos, and as soon as I got an iPhone, I quit using a computer, and I just did all my emails and everything with my on my phone like an idiot for over a decade, and literally blew my right thumb out. And it wasn't the guitar; it was the iPhone, and so that slowed me down. I had to continue playing, and then changing my phone technique helped a lot, and the therapy that I got helped. Um, but
Do you
it'll
speak
never
into your phone, or how does that work? Because I love that. That's the
just use
best
the
because I
finger,
can't type.
try speaking. But man, my fucking phone never understands my dialect.
Yeah, doesn't
I
understand my
have to
typing
speak.
either.
I have to speak so fast. But the cool thing is like, so I can't finger pick like I used to, but I don't care. I did that long enough. And when I hear tapes of myself playing like that, I don't miss it. I've gotten into a new now, I'm 52 and I'm trying to play less and play slower and slow down and be more economical and be more minimalistic. So I just look at it as an evolution, a before and
Got it.
after.
But there is some pain in the work now, right?
Yeah, sometimes. And this one, I've got to look out for this one now too. There's arthritis as well, but it's man, those iPhones are the devil. And when I see people, like, especially when their thumbs are bent very intently, like, ooh, it gives me the creeps, man. These things are the
That's
devil.
crazy. So let me ask you a question. So then, um, you had to bear down and be strong. Do you have any? Is there any other story that I don't know about? Maybe something, because one of the questions I have is like, was there a time when you almost quit? Did you almost walked away and did something else?
No, I mean, my greatest advantage was that I always knew I was going to be a guitar player, even more than like an inherent natural talent. My natural talent was a creative process that I can apply to anything, be it putting a band together, producing a record, writing a set list, or doing the laundry. That was my talent. But I always knew I was going to be a guitar player, and I'll always be a guitar player. Um, whether or not I travel as much in the future, who knows? But no, there's never been a time. I mean, I know my wife, wishes that I could be home, but I don't. There's not a backup plan that makes any sense. I
Got it.
can't. I haven't been able to figure out a way to get off the road.
Yeah. Um,
Can't
I
stop.
always
Won't.
wanted to go on the road, but never had enough nerve to do it. I was invited, because I'm the other guy. I'm like a super fan, the t-shirt guy, the guy who's like rushing to the to the van with a box of t-shirts, and they're like, "Get in, Loomis!" And I'm like, "Oh, sorry, that's my real name. Get in, James." And I would be like, "No, I have a job or whatever." I was always the guy with a job back in the day. Now I'm the other guy, but so
That was a
so
quick
it
story,
never came to a head for you, huh? Your
man.
superpower
Luckily,
is
hustling. You still got me?
so that means your superpower kind of is the forever mindset then.
Yeah, yeah. I do not remember a time when I didn't know I was going to be a guitar player. I was visualizing it as a child, and my father did not believe in me. He was like, "Man, you're going to have to practice. Like, you do not have it." He encouraged me to be a painter. He encouraged me to be a songwriter, but he did not encourage me to be a guitar player. He didn't think I had it. uh, but it's
That
a
might have
tough
been
love.
that might have been a plus.
Yeah, totally.
If if you have a forever mindset, if you're a grinder and somebody says you can't, oh my god, nothing sets me on fire more than somebody telling me what I can't do. Like this podcast.
That's right.
Like doing this podcast, I'm like, nah, I know. And like I told my buddies, I sent them a clip that I did, and it's pretty bad, And there were my one buddy. First thing shoots in the back, podcasting is very hard. I have a friend on CNN and you can talk to, and I'm just like, oh, it's on now.
I love.
But so okay, then let me
Let me
ask
tell
you
you.
another thing.
But before we
Did
move
you have
on,
anything else that I don't?
a great story about my dad, real quick, at that period of time. So by the time I was 16, I'd been practicing and even writing songs. So he believed in me a little bit. But he would, from time to time, fuck with me. And he was like, look, man, you're 16. You've got a guitar, an amp, and access to a car. You say you want to do this. What are you doing? Get out there and do it. And literally, he sent me out on my way in the streets. And I've just been hustling ever since. And that was a great. And then again, in my mid 20s, he was like, yo, what the fuck are you doing? By the time I was your age, I had gone to college. I'd done this. I opened a theater. I had a band, blah, blah, blah. Every once in a while, he'd be like, what are you doing? That was
Yeah,
helpful.
I yeah, that's amazing. I didn't. My dad and mom and dad, I set the bar really low, so they. But I hit the road early too. I hit the road out of my uh, parents' house when I was 17. That was something my family, we all left very young. My brother went to school, boarding school, starting in I think sixth or seventh grade. So our parents were hustling too. So that's all I had ever seen. And then the mindset that you need to be a minister and the mindset that you need to have if you're going to be, a touring musician. Like I said in the piece, they're different but very similar. You just got to like go and pound and pound and pound it every day. Um, what other challenges have you had to come through, other than like just proving it to your dad, and like hitting the road, and that you can think of that you had to be strong and carry on and show grit?
Man, there was a really tough time there. Uh, I started playing with the Black Crows, which is great, in '07, and they took a hiatus. My last show was in 2011. So we made a lot of great records, had a lot of fun, and my wife loved it. Man, the travel was like super family friendly and super rock and roll, living the dream. It was really cool. And but when they called me to reconvene in 2012, man, there was my inner voice was just screaming at me like, no, no. I just did not want to do it. There was not one song I felt like playing. And there were a lot of people in my life that didn't support the idea of leaving that job. But I did it anyway. And it was a little turbulent there because I was playing with my brother. We were hustling, doing our thing, nickel and diamond, you know, but I didn't have a strong contingency plan, but I knew I had to do it and I did it. And you know what? It was really a rough patch. But shortly thereafter, Phil Lesh from the Grateful Dead started calling and hiring me. And that led to a
Oh,
whole
I didn't
nother.
know that. I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
I started
Oh
playing with.
man, brown-eyed women in red grenadine, buddy. Come on now.
And I had heard that music but never learned it. I always uh, like resisted the Grateful Dead because my influences were Jimi Hendrix and the Allman Brothers, and you know SST Records and Black Flag, not the Grateful Dead. We enjoyed the street drugs from the parking lot our whole youth, but not the music. So anyway, I had to learn that
Yeah.
music really fast, and Phil taught us by hand, and it opened up a whole nother world of music and friends and opportunity. And if I had stayed with the Black Crows, that wouldn't have happened. So it was a real big jumping off point. I really had to trust my gut because sometimes when you listen, they say listen to your gut. Lots of times it's just a whisper. And it's easy to ignore it and just keep going. But that time it was just like, no.
And so you muscled in. I mean, what did you do meanwhile when things were when things
Well,
were tight?
just continued working with North Mississippi, working with my brother and doing our thing. But like, uh, it was definitely a lifestyle change, for my family. So it
Oh,
was tough.
got it. Go into
Yeah,
that. I don't know what you mean because the finances of the other tour were so much different, and it was very family friendly the way you were touring with that. And now you're coming back to a solo mission without the paycheck and the somebody taking care of all that stuff. Is that what you mean?
yeah. The Black Crows had they set up their touring operation in a real family friendly way, man. And all of the families, we all got pregnant at the same time, and we would all be,
Got
you know,
it. And they were little too.
in this big rock and roll gypsy family. It was fun, man. It was cool.
Yeah.
But
I love the Black Crows so much. It's
oh,
crazy. They're one of the greatest live bands I think in my lifetime I've ever seen. Yeah,
they are
live they're outrageous.
they're the best, and I cherish my time with them and the work we did. They wrote a lot of great songs. We made some great records, but it was funny. Music is heavy, man. Like the music you choose to play, dude, it defines the people you're with, the quality of your life, how you travel, where you go, what you eat. Like the music you choose to concentrate on is a very serious life choice.
Got it. Um, so now you're back. I saw you on it looked like just like on a quick tour. It wasn't like you didn't join a band, but you were in an act with the Allman Betts family. And my girl from Texas was tickled pink to see that. She knew everybody. Was a singer, so she was really excited about it. And now this year we chatted, and you've got some really cool things coming up as well. Doing something with Medeski, and what's going on now? Because it sounds like to me you're doing a little freelance work for some paychecks, and you're doing some work for yourself that is more about like the love of the game, the artistry, and that. So you're having a nice balance.
Man,
Or I could be totally wrong.
no. Balance is like music. Music is also like food, where like variety is the spice of life. Like it's good. I don't like just playing one music all the time for a long period of time. So part of my process is that I like to let some projects go for a long time, years and years. I'll let some projects just simmer on the back burner for years and years until the time is right. Some like I have a New Orleans project I only work on when I'm in New Orleans or whatever. I have a California project I only work on when I'm in California with those people. But when I turned 50, it dawned on me that my resolution was to finish all the back burner projects and get them off
Mm.
my desk, out of my life, out of my hard drive, and get them out. And I did it. I made a children's record. I finished a live jazz record with Medeski. I did an ambient, drony kind of instrumental psychedelic record. I've got a solo record coming out later this year, and the North Mississippi
Is this going to be like a Luther Dickinson title?
yeah, yep. Featuring this
And
great singer.
are you putting a lot of different musicians from outside of North Mississippi, or how did you produce that? Is that something that you've used the skills of your own producing and you're playing all
Yeah,
parts, or how's that working?
it's a small group of people. Some of the North Mississippi and some of my Memphis crew, and it's cool because we made those songs as instrumentals, and they all stand alone as instrumentals. But then it dawned on me, I was like, wait a minute, my friend Datrian Johnson is a murderous singer. I was like, I could just put Datrian on all these tracks, and man, he crushed it. So it's Luther Dickinson featuring Datrian Johnson. But yeah, I've finished all these things. So it's a real cool part of the cycle for me because now there are a couple of things that long, decade long projects that I got to finish. But I'm kind of
So
like,
that's your 20, that's your being strong in 2025 is pulling the strings tighter on some of those loose strings. That's great. I'm launching something, a whole different way of doing something, and you're tidying up some back work. And I think that's something for the folks that are listening that aren't nutty creators that that I relate to that. I don't know if everybody else does, but if you could see behind me and all you folks on live can, that's all stuff. That's all stuff, and over there are all patterns, and there's no way I can get to it all. Um, and so, anytime that you get a chance, there could be a shirt that I started years ago, but it just there was no place for it, or especially for me with graphics, that's like more of the musical bit where you can pick up and well, let me pull this new style or get influenced. With apparel, with the way I make it in New York City, it's very the process creates it in some ways. Although I've just turned that on its head too. Um, used to be you'd come in and get it all shortened. Now I'm like, hey, buddy, tell me what size, and you order it shortened. That it's even more green that way. I'm not overproducing. I'm producing what's being asked of me to make. And then with the caveat that like if it comes in and the lady made it this long and she was supposed to make it that long, I'll sell it to somebody else, and I'll make you another one. So you never have to worry about, it's if he sends it to me and it doesn't fit, I'm gonna feel like a jerk. Now if you make it like Cyndi Lauper's guitarist and one side's white and the other side's black and the button, then you're on your own. That's gonna be yours. That's more absolutely custom. But um I think another thing that's really interesting too is um when you when I started all of this, my visions of success looked like, because for me it started off like a rocket like this. Every month I did more than the last, and whatever. My what success meant was one thing, and now, like I said, a little long in the tooth, got a couple gray hairs. That evolved for me a little bit, you know.
yeah,
For example, I had to put being a dad first. That means for me picking the kids up from school because can't afford somebody else to do it or what have you, and I can't afford the little bit of time to be missed with them. How has success changed for you on your journey, and what do you see it for you as you continue on your journey?
success is really just it's being able to stay in the game. It's like
Being
my
able to
father.
stay in the game.
That's success. And like I,
Yeah,
I I don't begrudge
that's the
anyone.
forever mindset, people.
You know, and my dad, his musicianship, his crew, it was like Memphis Underground. It was like underground. Like I represent the underground. And like I'm cool. It's like we're working class music for working class people, and we work and we the harder I work. Oh man, okay, wow. Long story short, the harder I work, the better the music is. Dude, the music industry feeds on the young, and we fell into it, man. When our first record came out in 2000, we our manager said we got to get an accountant and we got to get tour support to pay for the bus that we didn't need, that we couldn't afford, and like the whole industry. And then they say, oh well, you need a tour manager. Oh well, the tour man, you need a guitar tech, you need a monitor man, all these things you don't really need. And it feeds on the worst instincts of a creative's personality. Oh, just isolate yourself, we'll do it all, don't worry, just go to the bus and we'll handle it, don't worry, all you got to do is play the show. So then you're just sitting in this little bus, uh, and then you have to go try to
Paying a
communicate
bunch
with
of people.
with a room full of people. And it's not the way I like to operate. Now it's like I drive and I do everything, and my partners and I, we set it up and I execute it. And the harder I work, the better the art is, man. That's what I've
Yeah, I really
learned.
found that too to be true. Also, it's the same kind of thing. Like when I did mass apparel, to make a shirt, it's a stack of paper like this, written in
Right,
English. And by the way, it's going to China. They can't read a lick, right,
right.
of English. The people that are going to make this thing. So, when you do it yourself, you have to pare it down. Also same thing. Like in to make a mass market piece. Now it makes sense. You're going to regenerate this thing 10,000 times. You better button it up. But you make 10 of them to sell two top. top pieces, right? So
Uh-huh.
you're creating this great amount of people that need to touch it, and costs to make it. And when I had to do it, I had to pick three, and I had to be right, and I was going to
Right.
make all three. I never got to see them. You know, you talk about that improv in the moment. Well, I had to be in the moment whenever I would pick those fabrics and balance a whole collection, you know. And so since I couldn't make any mistakes and I didn't have a second chance to be like, that is ugly, or that fabric doesn't support the architecture of that design the way I thought it
Hmm.
was going to be, if I made a mistake, it was going to be, I was going to lose big time. So as a result, some of those 90 hours came from the praying over and going over this, not praying that way, but like, oh my God, please don't make a mistake, be right. And so I think that there's a connection there. So now that you're in that position, and you know what you like, how do you envision your next 10 years of this project? And do you think you're going to find yourself back in a position where you need to be strong again? Because I know for me, it's going great, some things happened, and I'm in a position where I'm like, once again, trying to reinvent, trying to be strong, trying to get my crew back together so that I can
Yeah.
go back out and do the things the way I like to do. How do you envision that for you in the future?
Man, I feel like, it's like the ebb and flow and the rise and fall, and I hope, I'm really a huge believer in manifestation and visualizing your future, and I just have faith. You got to keep the faith. My dad used to say, keep the faith, keep the beat. He also used to say, trust the process. And I love hearing you talk about the process, because that's a big thing, man. Trust the process. Just keep showing up, go to work, do the best you can for as long as you can every day, until the
Keep
reality
the
is
faith
arrived.
and make the beat.
Keep the beat, keep the faith, keep the beat, stay on time, stay in rhythm.
Yeah.
But you just got to show up, man. You got to put your boots on and go to work. Like for me, I like first thing in the morning, I'll wake up as early as I can and do as much work as I can before family or reality gets me and fucks me for the day. You know what I mean? Because that first initial concentration is so pure. But anyway, I just hope, I feel like I'm in my prime. If I knew then what I know now, man, wow. But hey, fuck it. I'm ready now. So I just I'm just ready to keep fighting and just keep going.
Well, I guess that brings me to a question too, then, because if I had, I think what I know now, in some ways, I had more freedom to screw it up, I guess, then. Um, and I had my spirit. It's not that it's devolved, but it was more ready to challenge the whole world and whip it, and just and take it on. Whereas now I'm like, I know I'm not going to beat the world, right?
Yeah.
I'm more humble than I've ever been. You get smacked down, you get some humble, and how do you balance that missing that childish nature where you don't know what you don't know, so you just go and do it anyway? Well, now I know what I don't know, and I know by following this path, there's going to be this ebb and flow, and I've got to figure out how to live with that.
Man, it's funny. I'm not sure about your art, but music is ever humbling. It's ever fascinating, and you can study. If you stay fascinated, you can always find something to study and to move forward with. But the experience of music is ever humbling, man. There's always, no matter how bad you think you are, there's always something or somebody. But it's not somebody, because everyone is just them. We can't compare ourselves to anybody else. But it's like, I'll do something that will humble me to the core. But that's the beautiful thing about it. I love that. And
Yeah, being challenged. I don't know. I'm my own humbler. I try not to, like you said, I try not to engage myself against anything but my own work, and my own work ethic. And I'm more of a night grinder, so like, I'm more of like I tend to my family and I tend to my business, and then I create it when everyone else is asleep as much as possible. So, keep that coffee
Yeah.
pot full of Cafe Busco and let's go, type of thing. I've
Ooh.
always been that way, even when I was a kid. Like when I was in college, I would do art at night, and my roommates would wake up in the morning, and there would be like, "Whoa, there's a tree in my room, and the wall has been muraled, and it's." And they're like, "What did you do?" I said, "I don't know. I just got this bolt of creativity, and I put this in my room." And they're like, "Okay, man, this James guy, dude, is a maniac. What is wrong with this guy?"
I love it.
So, um, yeah, so I guess there's another big one here, and this is a different one, and I think for you, being a Southern gentleman and you bringing up your father, I think this might hit with you a little bit. My grandmother used to always say, and this is something I'm going to be asking everybody: there's never a road so long that there's not a turn in it.
Mm.
There's never a road so long that there's not a turn in it. Well, now that you hear that, what does that mean to you? And I don't know. It's just something that I want to get an answer, a resolution from some other people's perspective.
It's funny not to answer a question with a question, but to me that's like that kind of ancient wisdom. It makes me just want to counter with another like
Yeah, go
southern.
right ahead.
Yeah, it's like, for every mile of road, there's 2 miles of ditch. You got to
Yeah,
maintain
that's
your.
the beautiful thing about being a hick American is that like you've hung around, enough old timers with big pork chops and or for me old ministers they'll spin a yarn.
I
But
love
I'm gonna hold your feet to it. Never rode so long. There's not a turn in it.
Well, the thing is, I think you gotta, it makes me think that you just gotta always stay present and pay attention because you never know when that curve is gonna sneak up on you. You know what I mean? If you're not paying attention, you're gonna end up in the ditch.
That's right. That's right.
And it makes me think of some of my bullshit I always say. But I mean, if you cannot evolve and cannot adapt, you're not gonna survive.
If you
It's just
cannot evolve and you
and can't.
cannot adapt, you're not gonna survive. I think that's totally true, and I think that that's what's been the big challenge for me is leaving a realm that I feel really comfortable and confident in a store setting because I was taught by like your father, my retail father, Kevin Van Order, my mentor. I learned from the best, right? And so I got that in terms of like I can model that, right? Well, here on the digital world, in the e-com world, and in the and social media, it's too short. I don't know. Say something stupid, dance around to somebody else's rap tape, and it just I don't like it. Long form like this, where I feel like I can really invive somebody, I feel like it's good. But all of a sudden, going like, okay, you know how to do this well, but it's not going to work for you right now. Go try it this way.
Yeah,
Is always really scary, but that's part of that evolving or going away, isn't it?
totally, man. I love that.
Is there anything that you feel like you're going to have to evolve, like going forward,
Oh
or you
man,
think those evolutions you've just made coming out of COVID, and you're working on those now?
that's
You're
you know
evolving based on what on those changes you've made.
that's been great. I really am trying to untangle the puzzle and manifest the future of less travel. Especially in the near future while my kids are still young and they need me. It's like my
What are the ages of your kids?
15 and 10. So it's like
Yeah,
it's
similar.
really hard. It's important times, and it won't be long
Yep.
before that time is gone. Um, but also I'm in my prime, man. I gotta, it's a balance. So I just try.
It's
But,
definitely a balance.
but I have no hobbies. I have no outside interests. It's either music or family. So when I'm home and when they want my attention, I'm all in 100%. And so I try to be as dedicated as I can.
Yeah, man. So I think that's a really good spot to wrap. It's you've been so kind with me. I wanted to chat with you just really quick about the World Boogie graphic and your new Lachine jacket.
Yeah.
I see right now you're wearing a Danny and a sport coat. Um, yeah, man. That's he's wearing the old Danny. And do you happen to know why that's called the Danny?
Well, this is from British private school, right? This little
Yeah,
tag, does
man.
that have something to do with it?
Yeah, yeah. That's from the Eton boys from Eton College, and so the Beatles went there,
Right.
and they wore. That's how the Beatles and also the the Stones wore that, and
Yeah.
I have a really yeah, I had a fortunate enough to have one of the Rolling Stones see my version of that shirt and purchase it because it reminded him of one of the times when he
That's,
had it as well. Um,
that's
so
valid.
it was really fun doing the graphic with you. I got to be inspired by Mississippi and like sort of the Ramones graphic a little bit, and then I presented it to you, and you're like, "Yeah, it's cool, but that's the weirdest words you just put on there." I put in Luther We Trust, but then you came up with a really cool one. Then you said it. You also once again you brought it back to your father, and I'm loving that this chat is about our fathers and then our children. Tell me a little bit about World Boogie.
Well, World Boogie is coming. It's kind of like free beer tomorrow. Tomorrow never comes. World Boogie's
I've
always
never
coming.
heard that one. That's great.
It's
Free
a
beer
state of mind.
tomorrow. I love that.
Yeah, it's
World
always.
Boogie is coming because
Oh,
I think that's an amazing thing to think about it in terms of like we're like all like going, okay, is the world gonna like go away right now because everyone's like freaking out and trying to like take it over with robots and whatever. But instead, we're saying, no, 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 wait, hold on. No, the big party, the world global boogie is on its way.
that's
Let's have
right.
some fun. Stop
All
stressing
together.
out, right?
Let's all get together and boogie together. My phone is tripping out. It
Yeah,
keeps
man.
saying low device storage. I don't know
Got
what's
it.
up with
I think in that case, and then you also got the 9 ounce denim Lachine. So it's kind of like a shirt, kind of like a jacket. And we've had a lot of fun with that. I really appreciate you helping me work on that design and bring it into the denim world out of some of the other things that we were doing it in, and give you something you can wear and have in a functional way and take on tour with you and I'm just so proud to be back together with you and together in our lives, and I can't wait to see you here in the city when you come back this year. Are you going to be in New York?
Yeah, we'll be back. I think Brooklyn Bowl is where we ended up. It'll be fall time, late summer or fall. Hey, I just want to
Perfection.
say, look, my gear is over 10 years old and almost everything is held up, dude. The quality is insane.
That's
It's
what you pay
it's
for. I
crazy.
remember that. That's like that kind of almost denim one.
I love this jacket, man. I wear this motherfucker all the time, baby.
Yeah, I know that jacket. That's awesome. That's really awesome. I
Hey, I'm
yeah.
not trading you for it.
No, 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 no. And by the way, it's right here. Your leather is right here. I am not.
Yeah,
I've shot it. I've worn it, but that's
good.
yours. So just so you know, you can pick it up anytime. Anytime. Can be
Hey,
reunited with that at the Brooklyn Bowl coming up in the fall.
the shiny black jacket that you laid on me, I wore it for our new album shoot. So we'll be
Great.
representing on the new album.
Oh,
And
the
my guy,
Lachine, the one from the collection from the yeah. That's great. That's
yeah,
awesome. Actually,
the
yeah. That's
black with
I think that's part of this too. I mean, if I'm going to be really honest. Just reconnecting, getting my gear back on the back, getting it out into the public, having people see it and having those connections again. It's I mean, that's my stage. You know, when you look out at the crowd and you see people jamming to your music, for me, when I look up from the crowd and I see people jamming in my music, in my clothes, jamming out and having fun, that's my pay. And that's the problem with me. I got to make sure that I actually get cash too. but I get paid when I see people enjoying it, and yeah, I would give it all away if I could.
Me
It's
too.
not the part of it that I enjoy that much, but
Me
it's
too.
really important. And if you ask my roommates, my children, my ex-wife, my girl, like they all wish I would focus a little bit more on that part, and we're working on it. So I'm going to bid you adieu. I want to tell you that I love you, that I
Love you, brother.
respect you, that I think you're one of the greats, and I'm so glad that for whatever reason our lives have crossed, and I expect to keep it that way for many, 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 many years to come. Thank you so much for joining me and joining our audience on Only the Strong Man in 2025. Thanks for being a strong man, Luther.
I'll do my best.
Rock on, baby. I'll see you
Thanks,
in a few
Robert.
months. Don't be a stranger. Shout out at me anytime. And for you guys out in the world out there, also by Robert James, leave a like, leave a link. Tell me I stink. Tell me I'm great. But please do interact and come check out his amazing products that we worked on together. There's on the byrobertjames.com. Thank you so much. Bye from the studio.
Bye. Thanks.